Ladies, let me tell you something right now. Every man you deal with, don't matter if he's 25, 45, or 65, he's going to test you. He might not even know he's doing it. But trust me, he's testing. And the question he's really asking is, what is this woman made of? Now listen carefully. These tests don't come with a warning label. They don't say pop quiz today. They come in silence. They come in distance. They come when he thinks you're not paying attention. And if you don't recognize them, you end up failing a test you didn't even know you were taking. And here's the danger. Ladies, when you fail, you don't just lose him, you lose you. But when you pass, oh baby, you shift the whole balance of power. You take your crown back. So let's talk about these tests. Let's talk about how men push you, pull away from you, and wait to see what you'll do. And let's make sure from this day forward, you don't ever fail another one. The test of silence, what do you do when he pulls away? Ladies, let's get real about something most of you have felt deep in your soul. That moment when a man goes quiet. That moment when his texts slow down, his calls stop coming, and the energy he used to give you suddenly feels like it's vanished into thin air. It's like somebody turned off the music in the middle of the song and left you standing in a silent room. That silence is not just an accident, it's a test. And it's the first one almost every man will put you through. Now, here's the thing. When a man pulls away, every nerve in your body wants to react. You want to reach out. You want to ask questions. You want to demand answers. Your mind runs wild with scenarios. What did I do? Is he mad? Is he losing interest? Is he talking to someone else? And before you know it, that silence is not just his anymore. It's yours. You've taken ownership of it, and it starts to eat you alive. That is exactly what he's watching for. He wants to see how you handle the quiet, because the truth is silence is never empty. Silence is loud. Silence reveals what words can't. When a man steps back, he's really asking, can she hold herself together without me? Can she stay calm when she doesn't get constant reassurance? Can she stand in her value when I stop clapping for her? See, ladies, when you panic, when you chase, when you explode in desperation, you fail the test. You tell him without saying a word, I don't trust my worth unless you're validating it. And that is exactly the trap you must never fall into. Think of silence like a stage. The spotlight is on you. The audience is waiting, and you've got two choices: fill that stage with chaos or own it with presence. When you blow up his phone, when you send 10 texts in a row, when you drive yourself mad overthinking, you've just turned your crown into a clown hat. You've let his absence define your energy. But when you hold steady, when you don't flinch, when you let him pull back and you stay rooted, that's when you pass. That's when you send a message louder than any word. I don't need you to breathe. I don't need you to validate me. I was whole before you, and I'll be whole after you. Ladies, let me give you an example. Imagine you're in the ocean. A man is like a wave. Sometimes he crashes close to shore. Sometimes he pulls back into the sea. That's his rhythm. But if you chase the wave every time it recedes, you'll drown. The secret is to plant your feet in the sand, stand tall, and let the water come back to you. Because trust me, it always comes back. And when it does, it comes with more force. But it only respects what doesn't chase it. Now, I'm not saying silence is easy. I know it hurts. I know it feels like rejection. I know it makes you want to crumble. But I promise you, silence is your best friend if you learn how to use it. Because silence is not weakness. It's strategy. Silence is what makes men lean forward when they realize they don't know what you're thinking. Silence is what makes them question, did I mess up? Did I lose her? Why isn't she chasing me like every other woman does? That's when you flip the script. Men expect women to fill the silence. They expect you to chase. They expect you to crumble. So when you don't, when you smile, when you keep living, when you glow even brighter in the quiet, that's when you shock him. That's when he starts to respect you. Because here's the truth. Men respect what they can't easily predict, and they chase what they can't easily control. So the next time a man goes quiet on you, don't panic, don't crumble. Don't let that silence shake the foundation of who you are. Instead, let it remind you of your power. Let it remind you that your value doesn't depend on someone else's attention. Because real queens don't beg for the spotlight. They shine whether the room is full or empty. And when a man realizes your light doesn't flicker just because he walked out for a moment, he learns the one lesson every woman needs him to learn. If I don't step up, I will lose her. That, ladies, is how you pass the test of silence. The test of pressure, how much of yourself will you bend? Ladies, listen to me, because this one right here is where so many of you lose your footing without even realizing it. The test of pressure. This is the moment when a man pushes against your boundaries, nudges at your values, and tries to see just how much of yourself you'll give up in order to keep him happy, keep him comfortable, or keep him close. And let me tell you something, it don't come with flashing red lights. It sneaks in quiet, casual, soft. But little by little, it asks you the question, will she bend? At first, it may look harmless. He might say, why don't you stop hanging with that friend? I don't really like her. Or maybe it's, do you really need to wear that outfit? It's too much attention. Or sometimes it's not even words. It's a look, a tone, a sigh of disappointment when you're simply being yourself. That's pressure. It's not a scream. It's not a demand. It's a push. And he's waiting to see if you'll stand strong or start to fold. Now, here's where most women mess up. They think, oh, it's just one little thing. If I give this up, maybe he'll feel more secure. Maybe he'll love me more. Maybe it'll keep the peace. And what happens? You bend. And then you bend again. And then one day you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize yourself. You traded your fire for his comfort, your crown for his convenience. And now you're walking around small, dim, and wondering why he doesn't respect you anymore. Because let me break it down. Every time you bend too far, you teach him that your boundaries are flexible. You teach him that your self-respect can be negotiated. And once he learns that, he will keep pressing. Not always because he's cruel, but because human nature tests limits. If the line keeps moving, he'll keep pushing. That's why the test of pressure is so critical. You've got to teach him early that your lines don't move. Ladies, think about steel. Steel doesn't bend easily. That's why it's used to build bridges, skyscrapers, things that are meant to last. Now think about plastic. It bends. It warps. It takes the shape of whatever presses against it. Which one do you want to be in a relationship? The steel that commands respect, or the plastic that gets reshaped until it's unrecognizable? And don't get it twisted. This ain't about being hard or cold. This is about being unshakable in who you are. Because a man who truly loves you doesn't want a woman who folds. He might test you, but deep down, he respects the one who says, baby, I love you, but I will not lose myself in you. That's when he knows he's dealing with a queen, not a pawn. Let me give you a real world example. A woman I once spoke to told me how she gave up her dream of finishing school because her man said, we don't need that, I'll take care of us. At first, it sounded like love, like security. But years later, when the relationship cracked, she was left with regret. Not because she loved him, but because she bent too far and lost a piece of herself in the process. That's what pressure does. It steals your future while making you believe you're keeping your present. So here's the truth. When a man applies pressure, he's not just testing your patience. He's testing your identity. And the only way to pass is to stand. You've got to know your non-negotiables. You've got to know your values before you step into love, because love without values is just sacrifice, and sacrifice without limits becomes self-destruction. When pressure shows up, you have to look him in the eye and say, listen, I hear you. I see you. But this is who I am, and I don't shrink for anyone. Because here's the beautiful part. When you refuse to bend, the right man doesn't walk away. The right man adjusts. The right man realizes he's got to rise to meet you instead of dragging you down to meet him. Ladies, let me drive this home with one last thought. A diamond is created under pressure, but here's the key: the diamond doesn't fold. It doesn't bend. It doesn't change what it is. Pressure just reveals its brilliance. That's you. The pressure from a man doesn't have to break you. It should make you shine brighter. But you've got to decide. When the test of pressure comes, and it will you fold into someone else's idea of you, or will you stand tall in the truth of who you are? Because when you stand, you not only pass the test, you teach every man that walks into your life from that day forward. I am not to be bent. I am not to be broken. I am not to be reshaped. I am me, and that is enough. The test of patience: can you handle the weight? Ladies, let me tell you something about men that most won't admit out loud. They move on their own timeline. A man might love you, care for you, even see a future with you. But when it comes to committing, growing, or stepping fully into the role you want him to play, he's going to drag his feet sometimes. That's the test of patience. He wants to see if you can handle the weight. Now, don't get it twisted. I ain't talking about waiting forever. I'm not talking about putting your life on pause. I'm talking about how you hold yourself together when a man says, patience is one of the hardest tests you'll ever face in a relationship. Why? Because women are wired to nurture, to build, to move things forward. You want to see progress. You want to know where it's headed. And when he slows down, your mind starts racing. Is he wasting my time? Is he stringing me along? Does he really want me? That's the battle. Because your patience isn't just being tested by his actions. It's being tested by your own doubts, your own fears, your own timeline of how things should go. See, a man wants to know, can you let him grow without choking him? Can you give him space to figure himself out without making it about your worth? Because let me tell you, growth is never instant. Sometimes the seed takes a long time to break through the dirt. And if you keep digging it up to check if it's sprouting, you kill it. That's what a lot of women do. They don't mean to, but they dig up the seed with constant questions, constant pressure, constant demands. And what happens? The man shuts down even more. Now let me be clear. Patience does not mean sitting around, wasting years of your life waiting on a man who refuses to step up. Patience doesn't mean lowering your standards. It doesn't mean letting him treat you like an option. No, patience is about knowing how to balance hope with boundaries. It's about giving time without giving your whole life away. It's saying, I see where you're at. I respect your journey, but I'm not going to stop mine. Picture this, you're at the train station. His train is delayed. You can sit on the platform frustrated, complaining, and checking the clock every 5 minutes. Or you can use that time to read, to learn, to grow, to enjoy your own company. The train may arrive late, or maybe it won't arrive at all. But the time you invested in yourself while waiting, that's yours forever. That's how patience works. You don't sit still, you don't shrink, you thrive while you wait. And here's the kicker. When a man sees that you're patient without being passive, when he sees you can let him move at his pace without you losing your glow, that's when he realizes he better speed up. Because men are motivated by what they fear losing. If he sees that your whole life is orbiting around his decisions, he relaxes. But if he sees that you're living, you're glowing, you're building, you're laughing, and time is not standing still for him, oh, he feels that pressure. That's when patience becomes your power. Let me give you a story. A young woman once told me her man said he wasn't ready to marry yet. Instead of nagging him, instead of throwing ultimatums, she kept focusing on herself. She traveled. She pursued her career. She kept leveling up. A year later, he was the one down on one knee. Why? Because he saw she wasn't waiting around like a statue. She was moving, and he realized if he didn't lock her down, someone else would. That's the lesson. Patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means holding space for the possibility while never abandoning yourself in the process. Patience is also about emotional maturity, because sometimes when a man says he needs time, what he really means is, I need to see if I can trust you not to panic, not to pressure, not to push me into a corner. And let me tell you, nothing makes a man run faster than feeling trapped. But nothing makes him come closer than a woman who can smile and say, take your time, baby. I'm not waiting on you. I'm living my life. That right there is magnetic. But let's flip it, because sometimes the test of patience is really about testing yourself. Can you resist the urge to settle just because you're tired of waiting? Can you walk away when his wait turns into an excuse? Patience without wisdom turns into prison. That's why you need both. You've got to know how to give a man room, but you also have to know when that room turns into distance you don't deserve. So the real question in the test of patience isn't just, can you wait? It's, can you wait with dignity? Can you wait without losing yourself? Can you wait without putting your dreams on hold? Because when you pass that test, you win twice. You either get the man who rises to meet you, or you get the freedom to move on and find the one who's already ready. Either way, you win. That, ladies, is what it means to handle the weight. The test of respect, how do you demand it? Ladies, listen closely, because this one right here is not just a test in love. It's a test in life. Every man you deal with will test you in the area of respect. Not always in big ways, not always in dramatic ways. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's a little joke that cuts too deep. Sometimes it's a promise broken. Sometimes it's how he talks to you when he's frustrated. And the question underneath it all is simple. How much will you tolerate before you demand better? That's the test of respect. Respect is the foundation of every relationship. Without it, love collapses. Without it, commitment means nothing. Without it, passion turns into pain. But here's the truth. A lot of women don't want to face men, only respect what you demand. They respect what you require. They respect what you consistently reinforce. If you let disrespect slide once, he'll test you again. If you laugh it off because you don't want to start a fight, he'll push further next time. And before you know it, little cracks turn into gaping holes. See, when a man first meets you, he's paying attention to what you accept. He's not just watching how you treat him. He's watching how you treat yourself. Do you call yourself names? Do you put yourself last? Do you settle for being an option? If you disrespect yourself, he learns real quick that he can get away with it too. But when you carry yourself like a queen, when you draw the line early and say, this is how I expect to be treated, he adjusts. Men might test, but they will always rise or fall to the standard you set. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man raises his voice at you during an argument. The first time you let it go, you tell yourself he was just angry. He didn't mean it. But what you just taught him is that it's acceptable. The second time he pushes further. The third time it's normal. But imagine instead you stopped him at the start and said, don't talk to me like